Evening, everyone. Hey, just wanted to come on here and talk about Pete Hegseth's speech the other day. Our Secretary of War, he had an all hands meeting with the generals and admirals and the senior enlisted, um, 1 star and above, and of course, all the command sergeant majors and chief petty officers, chief master sergeants, the bigwigs, all the combatant command, senior enlisted, and whatnot, division and above, basically. And I don't know if it was everybody was there. The ones that probably couldn't make it in person probably were watching it, you know. But a lot of them were there, and not like I know any generals for real. But I found the speech to be good. At least the Secretary of War's part of the event. I thought the speech was great. I thought all his initiatives were good. I agreed with them. I like that we're going back to the 1990 standard. I came in basic training in 91, so I fell into that standard. Um, and I think it's great. I think a male standard for um, combat jobs, combat related jobs, is the right thing. That means the women have to meet the male standard in combat jobs. In non-combat jobs, then it's PT tests are separate, male and female, and by age. Um, but in the combatant commands, it's male based. I think it's still by age, but it's all male based. Men and women, they have to meet the male standard. Fully agree with that. And there are women out there that they'll be able to meet that. Um, but that's done for a reason, because you have to do things that you don't do in non-combatant commands. Um, so I'm all for that. He's like, if you want a beard, go join special forces. I agree with that. Though I know working with chaplains, I know that there are some religions where a beard is part of their religious expression. I'm sure they'll be given waivers. At least they should, in my opinion, be given waivers as long as they can prove that it's part of their religious belief. The DoD shouldn't have an issue, and I say DoD because Congress hasn't approved the name change yet. So yes, we have a Secretary of War, but they haven't. Congress needs to approve the change to the department name. So until that happens, it's still the DoD. Um, and so I like it. I like everything he said, actually. Could he have said some things a little bit better? Sure, but that's just the way he is. Talking about fat people, he's right on with that. Definitely need to, especially some of these folks in these commands. Yep, I agree. People get comfortable, especially at that rank, at general rank. And he's like, look, everybody needs to be fit from the top down. I agree. Um, because again, it goes by age. So the older you are, the less that you have to do, but you still, need to be fit, body mass wise and stuff like that. So I agree with that. And the standard is the same for active, reserve, and guard, which I love, because in the guard, we got a whole lot of folk that will not make it because they're too fat. They don't meet body mass. It's ridiculous. So, um, yeah, I like that. And again, people don't like Pete Hegseth, and that's fine. I don't know the guy. It really doesn't matter. He's the boss. So, but I like what he said at that meeting at Quantico. It was kind of an unusual thing. People were speculating and all this other stuff. And in reality, he didn't need to bring them all to Quantico. But you know what? It's not like they have to do that all the time. So, I have no problem with it. He made some of these generals and admirals travel quite a ways to get there. But hey, it is what it is. Um, and I'm that type of person. I like to talk to people in person rather than on Zoom or anything like that. So I get it. Um, but like I said, I think he did a great job. I think Secretary of War did a good job on his speech. The president, no, I didn't enjoy his speech. I think he rambled too much. He was off topic. I think he should have been much more concise. Um, and stayed on topic when dealing with all those generals and admirals and whatnot. He should have been much more concise, and sticking to the topic. He, as President Trump does, he goes off topic, and sometimes he'll come back around, sometimes he won't. That's just the way he is. So so I didn't enjoy his part of the event. But Secretary of War's part, I enjoyed a lot. I agree with it. I agree with what he's trying to do. I'm glad he's focusing on that E603 right there. That's where you really that's where you make the decision at E6 and O3 whether you're going to continue. That's where you reach that's that kind of that mid-level NCO officer grade right there. That's really important grades right there. E6 and O3, real important. Because that's where a lot of people will make that decision. Am I going to continue or am I going to get out? And part of our problem has been that we're losing all these E6s and O3s, the ones that have got all these years of experience, and they decide to get out for whatever reason, and then you lose all that experience. And we need to keep them because they take that experience into 04, 05, 06, and so on. And the E6s, all up to Sergeant Major. So we want those two grades are real important when it comes to, gauging military, how effective the military personnel is, and that's you really want to catch them at those two grades. And so I agree with that. I agree with that E6. He added the O3 in their initiative. Going back to the 1990 standard, I ain't got no issues. I came to basic in 1991, so I fell right under that 1990 standard. So I know exactly what that's about. I survived. I ain't got no issues. Drill sergeants being able to do what they need to do. I got whooped on by my drill sergeants. I got beat up by my drill sergeants. I turned out okay. So going back to that, I ain't got no issues. Obviously, you're not there to injure somebody or hurt somebody on purpose or do anything obviously illegal or anything like that. But look, my drill sergeants whooped on me. It is what it is. You just deal with it and you move on. And I survived. Came in the military underweight, and I survived. So, I've been in 27 plus. So, obviously, I had a break in between active duty and guard, but still, I survived. It's all good. I have no issues. Now, there are some people that don't like Pete Hegseth for whatever reason, whatever the media is putting out there, whatever his, he's done in the past and all that. I don't care. What he talked about was right on point. I have no issues with it. You got to separate the personal from the professional. And what he was saying professionally made sense to me. Whatever you think about the guy personally, that's whatever. I don't care. As long as he's doing the job, it doesn't matter. And so right now, I think he did a great job, and it was a good speech, in my opinion. Obviously, there are going to be some of the women that might be upset because now they have to meet male standard for the combat commands. That's just, they'll get over it. That's the way it needs to be. Nothing wrong with women soldiers. I've served under great women soldiers. I served under a bunch of them with the chaplaincy and in other areas. No issues, no problems. As long as they can do their job, I ain't got no problems with it. They bring in something just like the males bring in something. It's all good to me. But the standard is the standard, especially in combatant commands. You're in a combatant command if the standard is different than it is in non-combative commands. So you have to, the military functions because there's a set standard. And I like the fact that we're doing back to merit-based promotion. That should have been done years ago. Merit-based promotion is the way to go. Everything is merit-based. It's not based on ethnicity anymore. It's not based on gender anymore. It's merit-based. Will that get abused sometimes? Of course it will. It's the government. Of course it will. Everything in the government gets abused. But for the most part, that's the fairest system and the best system. That it's merit-based. So that's the way it should be. And so I enjoyed his speech. And like I said, I didn't enjoy the president's speech. I think he rambled too much. and was off topic too much. I didn't like the fact that he's talking about using these cities as training ground for the National Guard. That's really not the right thing to do. I'm not necessarily against the National Guard going into cities as long as the governor is the one doing it and not the president. The president can do it under the Insurrection Act. For all y'all that don't read, the Insurrection Act allows him to do that as the president. But are we really in an insurrection? I guess it depends on which talking point you're listening to. If the governor decides to do that, he's authorized to do that, and they can serve in a police function as they do during riots and stuff like that. Now, is this unprecedented what President Trump is doing? No, of course not. President Kennedy did it. It was done during the Civil Rights era. It was done in Alabama. It was done, during the Civil Rights era, black students couldn't get into schools, that kind of thing. So it's one of those things where, I, I, I don't agree that it should be, that's a training ground for that, but we'll see how that goes. It is what it is. National Guard does a lot of things. So, we have to be flexible. But other than that, that's about it. Just, uh, you know, just, uh, just wanted to come on here and talk about that. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Yeah, if you watched the event at Quantico, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about it. Share it with somebody. I thought his part at least was a good speech. I didn't like the president's part of it. Um, but overall, I thought it was pretty good. So we'll see what comes out of it. Hopefully, all these initiatives will be put in place real soon, and we'll see how it goes. Um, but right now, Congress need to pass this budget so that federal workers, military, and everybody can get back to work and get paid for what they do. So that's the thing right now. So we're just praying that cooler heads, saner people prevail, and you know, what I'm saying, that the Senate, because the House already passed it, that the Senate passes the CR, so we can unfortunately kick the can down the road for another few months. They just need to go and pass a full time budget. But whatever it is, let's just pray that they pass it sometime this weekend. That'd be great, and go from there. Because I know a lot of people that are furloughed. So, and then now there's talk of people being fired, and I don't know nothing about that. We'll see what comes of it. Hopefully nothing, but like politicians, are taking advantage of the situation. So it is what it is. So, anyways, I just came on here to talk about that. So, um, let me know what y'all think. Or what y'all thought about the Secretary of War's little speech there at Quantico. Like I said, I thought it was a good speech. But y'all let me know. And again, as always, I appreciate everyone for your likes, your comments, the subscribers, everyone. I appreciate everyone. And until next time, God bless you.